you don't believe that the policy should matter more than the personage of the candidate, right? It's not what she is that is your issue, it's how she is.
Right, that's what we're saying. Those of us who are anti-DEI, our whole point is that what matters is the policies, what matters is the merit.
Really had to feed him that one, eh? So, just so we're clear, you're not a racist who hates her because she's black and Indian. You don't like her policies. Just I want to make that just so everyone is like we're on the record saying that out loud. News Nation.
All right. Walsh then decides to go undercover. Joins us now. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Matt, what do you hope to achieve with this film?
Well, this is our exploration of the DEI so-called anti-racist hustle, the scam. And so we want to expose these con artists for what they are, the people that are pushing this stuff. But we want to do it, comedically with humor. We want to do it in an entertaining way, which is why as you covered, I kind of go on my own journey of racial awakening. And I listen to these people. I listen to what they say. I try to.
Just so we're clear, when he was on CNN, yeah, I thought so. I was like, Chris was one of the people who would be like, we have to call out Donald Trump's racism. Cuomo calls out Graham defending Trump's racist tweets. Chris Cuomo calls out members of the GOP for defending President Donald Trump's racist remarks against 4 Democratic congresswomen of color.
Put their teachings into practice in the film. I let them guide me down the rabbit hole so that the viewer can see by the end of the film where it leads. And it leads to some pretty wild and demented places, frankly. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but we take the path where they lead us.
So let's figure out for you what the line is, because I'm sure that diversity, equity, inclusion, these are not bad words for you. So what is the line to where you believe?
I don't know if you're familiar with Matt Walsh. I feel a lot of people aren't. I feel people are just kind of like, hey, by the way, do you want to do an interview tonight? We got a conservative commentator, Matt Walsh. He is, also a filmmaker. He's made a couple comedy films. One of them just did decently at the box office. He's got one of the, highest grossing documentaries of the year. Do you want to bring him on? And then you can talk a little bit about things like racism, that kind of stuff.
Those honorable concepts become something different.
When it's all based in left-wing racial ideology, which these days, I mean, sure, there's a way that you could use the word diversity that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Inclusion doesn't necessarily, there are ways you can include people. That's obviously not bad. But when these terms are used and when it's put together, DEI, it always means left-wing racial ideology. What is left?
Like, it's as soon as you hear a couple combinations and then all of a sudden it becomes a buzzword, all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, that's the thing I don't like. Yes. Do you enjoy eggs? I do. Do you enjoy the yolk? I do enjoy the yolk. Yes. You know what rhymes with yolk? What? Woke. Whoa, I hate that. That's right. You hate that. That's the bad thing. So just remember that when you hear that sound, all right? You should just kind of get a response, almost like a bell, that when you hear it, that's the bad thing, the thing we all hate.
Left-wing racial ideology, well, to sum it up in the most simple way possible, it's the idea that white people are inherently racist, inherently bad, and that nobody who...
We're still doing this, eh? We haven't changed at all from the Chris Cuomo, sorry, not Chris Cuomo, I got Chris Cuomo on screen right now, from the Chris Rufo, basically CRT shit, where it was basically, hey, by the way, CRT teaches people that white people are evil, teaches people that white people are all colonizers by design, that white babies are the most racist of all babies, that white people apparently use time to their advantage, they're time travelers, they're time manipulators, and that's really the problem, I think, with critical race theory, is it is deeply, deeply racist towards white people. And it's like, y'all got this in reverse. It's the upside down. It's like, hey, by the way, if someone tells you who isn't white that I experience life differently as a non-white person, and then to take that and be like, so you're calling me racist? No, didn't say that. So I'm just trying to make you aware of how other people have different lived experiences. It could be a variety of things. And I'm sure you've heard before how some people's lives change based on different characteristics or things that happen to them or stuff like that. You're probably used to that, and that one isn't as wild to you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm on board. Where are we going with this? Okay, so the next thing would be that I've had a different lived experience just by virtue of the fact that I happen to be considered of a different race than you, even though we're both human, even though we're both equal, even though the only thing that really separates us is some different character attributes, I would say, in terms of our physical appearances. But based on that alone, I've had different treatment by people who want to rent property to me, by employers who want to have jobs for me, by the way the medical system treats me, by the way the judicial system treats me. I've had a different lived experience than you. Calling me a racist is what I hear. I hear you calling all people who are white, who aren't like you, racist. That's what this is. And this is woke, leftist, racial ideology. And that's what racism is. Racism is essentially at its core some kind of authoritarian left policy to make people feel bad into getting their way. That's how they control and manipulate society. Yes. Now, time to make a documentary about this.
Is not white can be racist, and that white people are the author of all the oppression and suffering in the world. That's the belief, and every single one of these DEI people, that is absolutely what they believe. I'm not simplifying it at all. That is what they believe, and if it's grounded in that, then it's evil. It's wrong.
What conclusion do you draw? And maybe you just told us there in the end of that last sentence, but build it out, expound a little for us. What is your...
Just riveting reporting. Can't believe he was ever dropped by CNN, with this kind of like, hey, by the way, I've just said a bunch of stuff that's pretty deep, in terms of you might want to dissect a little bit of it for your audience just in case they might misconstrue a thing or two that I say. It's like, expand upon it. Tell me more about how apparently everything that I've ever been told about racism, inclusivity, diversity, which I thought maybe diversity was a good thing. I thought inclusivity would be a good thing, but now you're saying the entire thing is actually an attack on all white people to make white people feel bad and to make them feel as if they're the only cause of all the problems in the world. And that's essentially what racism truly is. And no one knows this until you made this movie.
Conclusion about why the people that you encountered do what you call evil?
Because there's a lot of money in it, and we explore that in the film. In fact, we pay these race hustlers, Robin DiAngelo and others, to be in the film. We put their price tag on the screen because it's part of it's part of the scam. So there's money in it. There's also influence. There's power.
I'm going to assume that you put their speaking engagement fees, which I mean, broadly speaking, hey, I'm not here to defend, and this is one of the shitty things about the works of Robin DiAngelo and white fragility and all that kind of stuff. I knew when seeing that book, especially the way that like the Jimmy Kimmels, the Jimmy Fallons, all of these libs just took it to heart that this was just going to be way too much kind of corporate absolve your white guilt as a ceremonial thing kind of way of explaining maybe some deeper concepts within sociology that like are going to be really difficult to do in 2 to 3 minutes on a talk show where you sit across from someone and it's basically like, so tell me about the concept of white privilege and centering my whiteness, and then hopefully in the next 3 minutes you can absolve me of my white guilt, which I would like, because I do not enjoy having that. I've heard that racism's bad, and other people may have experienced it, and I could, in fact, not be aware of, like, what do you call them, the microaggressions, that kind of stuff. It was just like... explained in this fashion and then broadly accepted by just like the liberal class. Not like, let's actually look at the material analysis, the history of how the connection between capitalism, the North Atlantic slave trade, how these things have been exacerbated from time, generation after generation, home ownership, wealth accumulation in the United States, all this. None of that's in there. It's not about that. It's like, yes, it mentions slavery, obviously, and it does mention about the oppression of other groups, but it doesn't mention how a lot of these systems are also just exacerbated, and in the same way that they exacerbate class antagonism, racial antagonism. These things are interconnected. You can't separate the two, but instead we're going to be sitting across watching Jimmy Fallon being like, so I guess when I tell my best friends the Roots that I think that like their hair is really cool and I ask if I can touch it, then I'm doing a microaggression and I'm centering my whiteness over theirs and I'm not aware of my own privilege, and so it would be better if maybe I didn't do that. Well, then of course the Matt Walshes, the Ben Shapiros of the world are all going to just take this and jump on it and be like, this stuff is all ridiculous. There's no such thing as racism. Racism doesn't exist. Systemic racism doesn't exist. The entire thing is part of this massive like fucking industry to profit off of you, and it's like, That's really unfortunate that this is going to have to be the backlash to any potential kind of like, hey, maybe more people should learn these things. It's not a bad thing to learn about the plight of others or how other people are treated. Doesn't mean that you necessarily like that. You know, when you go to a party, that concept, if you go to a party and you're not drinking for whatever reason, you might want to do it for health reasons, you might be trying to take a break, you're just not doing it, but someone asks you, hey, do you want a beer? And you're like, no, I'm okay, I'm not drinking right now. And then in turn they might have that reflexive kind of like, oh shit, is this on me? Am I like bad for drinking beer, doing drugs, drinking alcohol right now? Or same thing with like a vegan, right, who's like, no, I'm good on burgers, I'm gonna be fine on the burgers. Are you making a judgment on me? What, am I bad now because I eat cow? Because I bought it in the supermarket from a factory farm and then I'm barbecuing it and I'm going to enjoy this delicious burger? Am I a bad person now? It's like, no, this isn't about you. It's not about you. I'm not drinking at this time, or I don't eat a burger right now. But you're not necessarily in turn a bad person just from me telling you about myself, right? And the same thing where it's just like, hey, by the way, I have a different lived experience than you. So you're saying that I'm the racist? I'm the cause of all this?
There's political advantages. Listen, when people are very obsessively focused on race and they're resentful and angry and they feel guilt and suspicion and all that stuff based on race, they're much easier to manipulate, and that's why they do it. That's why these race hustlers do it in the DEI world. That's why Democrat politicians do it. We have the DEI presidential candidate right now.
Oh, and the author of White Fragility may have plagiarized White Fragility from other people of color, BIPOC academics, which again, profoundly fucked up thing to do, especially if you yourself are going to be like, oh, by the way, I'm really going to introduce a lot of these concepts to, broadly speaking, a larger white audience through, you know, once this is out there, I get to start doing the late night talk shows. Maybe I even get the Oprah book sticker, and then I can go and give speeches about racism and centering your whiteness and your white privilege and stuff like that, and taking all these academic terms and packaging them into a solid product that, like, you know, can get directly associated with myself.
And Kamala Harris, and this is what she stands for. She is the kind of mascot for all this stuff.
Well, is she the mascot because she's a black woman, or do you believe that her politics are using these concepts unfairly? When you say mascot, what do you mean?
Well, it's the policies, but the real reason is that she was put in her position because she's a black woman, and that's not me saying that. I mean, that's Joe Biden said that. Joe Biden said that he was.
But that is you saying it out loud, right? Like, do you have evidence that she was specifically only
Clean up your
hired
room
because she's part black? That's what actually made her get every single career advancement she's had in her life. I, like, you know, without having to look into the data and history of this, I'd assume it's probably more difficult to climb the ranks within, you know, a structured patriarchal system or a white supremacist system. But we can ignore all that kind of stuff as a woman of color. You know, a biracial woman working in an industry dominated primarily by men. A lot of you know, men both in either the criminal justice system at very high levels or politicians, often men at very high levels as well. I would say that it's more likely that she would have to work a lot harder to have achieved what she's done to get to where she is. But I mean, I guess it's something that you could learn if you were studying this kind of stuff, right?
When he was looking for a vice president candidate, he was going to look for a black woman, and he ruled out all other demographics ahead of time and only focused on this demographic. That's DEI. That's what DEI is. That's judging people based on color,
believe it was
excluding people.
I believe he only said woman, and he wound up.
Whoa, is this a pushback? I can't believe it, Chris. What have you done? This was supposed to be a safe space. You're going out of control here. Look at him. He's just completely lost his composure. Screaming.
Picking a black woman. But he did say he was going to pick a woman, and you can argue that did close off any choice of having a man there, unless it was a man that decided to identify as a woman. But
wow, Chris, I didn't know. It's like, how long does it take when you just basically leave mainstream, you know, not going to be back on ABC, MSNBC, CBS, or any of the other major networks? So it's like, well, you're going to be relegated to kind of like, we'll just say second and third tier, you know, maybe not Fox News. That's actually a little too good for you. But News Nation, that they are interested. I think you still have enough of a name, credibility, that you can go into the uncancelable network and you know, news for all Americans.
you don't believe that the policy should matter more than the personage of the candidate, right? It's not what she is that is your issue. It's how she is.
Clean up your room.
Right, that's what we're saying. Those of us who are anti-DEI, our whole point is that what matters is the policies, what matters is the merit.
Really had to feed him that one, eh? So, just so we're clear, you're not a racist who hates her because she's black and Indian. You don't like her policies. Just I want to make that just so everyone is like we're on the record saying that out loud.
Of the person. It's when you're in the DEI world, that's where you're dividing people based on race. Okay, you get this because this is your race. You're included because it's your race. No, we don't want you because you're the wrong race. That's the DEI. That's exactly what this film, that's the attitude this film is meant to expose.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go to join.
Well, yeah, what a revelation. I feel like so much was exposed. We learned things we never knew before. News Nation only recently stopped airing syndicated cop dramas during their off-peak hours. I have no idea what News Nation is. I assume I just got as much News Nation as I could probably imagine, right? It seems very News Nation-y.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.